engineer. What's up, everybody? It's your favorite alien hunter's favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the SH Figuarts Monster Arts Predator Wolf. My baby, actually, like my infant. Is she an infant anymore? She's probably not an infant anymore. She's one. She's just baby. It's crazy. Time flies. She does this thing where she grinds her teeth. It drives me up the wall. Like, it's like nails on a chalkboard to me. But I call her Predator often because it sounds like that Predator noise. Anyway, this is on loan to me from Mr. Michael E. Shout out to him. He sent a bunch of stuff we're going to look at. We've probably already looked at some of it already. This is just the first review of the series that I'm doing. And mainly because this one is the most kind of labor intensive. There's a ton of accessories which we have to get into. There's a lot of gimmicks. There's a lot of bells and whistles to this figure. So let's not waste too much more time and just hop into it. Like most Figuarts, he comes with a fair amount of hands. They're all swappable in the same way. They just peg in, typical Figuarts way. The stylings are the same. We'll talk about that when we get to the figure. As you saw in the opening footage, he has 2 fist hands. He also comes with 2 relaxed hands, left and right. And then he has 2, let's see where the other one is. No, here it is. So 2 gripping hands with open fingers. 2 relaxed, like slight relaxed hands. They can also kind of support weaponry. And then 2 more additional right hands, holding hands of different stylings. Which seems a little excessive, but, you know, better to have than to not, I guess. He also comes with the swap out head with the helmet on. Nice detailings on this. It looks like it's a nice choice of silver, and it looks like it might have a subtle wash to it. I can't really tell. And then the eyes are like a gray. It looks really good, and then all the skin detailings, which we'll talk about when we get to the figure, look great, and then the hair is the same as well. As you can see, it just pulls out and then snaps on, so it's easy to swap back and forth, so that's nice. He comes with alternate swappable pieces for his little mandibles or whatever they are, his little like burgers out of his mouth. They all, as you can see, and I'll show it when we show the figure, you can pull out here and then it plugs in, you know, using that system there, and then there's 2 additional bottom ones because he's missing one, like not that the toy is, but like the character is missing like the his upper left one. So then you get 2 different ones for the bottom left, which is cool. It seems like, you know, I wouldn't have expected all of these options, but it's nice to have them. We'll take a look at the differences real quick. So this is more of the closed mouth section, and then I'm not going to show you plugging them in and such, but there you pull one out there and one out there, and then that's where they plug in. And then that kind of has the more open mouth section. This does have a little bit more of the gaps are obvious with the open mouth. So I prefer the closed mouth, but the open mouth looks good as well, but just as a heads up. He comes with 2 of his extension Wolverine blades. These are just swappable, so these are the more relaxed ones, or, you know, withdrawn, and then you can just plug these in for the more extended, you know, look. Makes sense. They just had this kind of silver finish upon them. Other than that, decent sculpt and good to go. He comes with this weapon. It's really cool, but these 2 pieces plug in to form it, and it's just, you know, it's good to go. Copper paint there, silver paint for the rest of it. We had the silver paint gunmetal for the tubing, and then translucent plastic tubing on it as well. And then this is him holding it with the more relaxed grip. You probably could get the other one to work, but since this doesn't belong to me, I'm not really comfortable pushing it. But this will hold it. I do find this to be a bit obnoxious. It will stay in, but it's a matter of just getting it, feeling like it's pushed in all the way. It's not like it clicks or anything. And then we have the acid accessory with the blue translucent in this silver kind of capsule. It looks really cool, and he can hold it in many of the hands, and you can have him holstered, you know, like that, or I guess even like that. So that's cool. He comes with 2 versions of his whip. One is coiled. The handles are sculpted the same, so as you can see, he can hold it just fine. This, I think they're both, actually this might be a little bit more rigid, but they're both kind of a softer plastic, so the whip can move around a bit. No wire in it, but it does swivel down here where it connects to the handle, where we have blue paint and copper paint and silver paint, and then silver paint on the whip itself. So, you know, it's very nice. And then what's nice also about it is it has a peg here, and it can peg into his belt, and then he can have that holstered as well, so to speak. Then he comes with these 3 accessories. These 2 here specifically can peg into his back. This is like the medical bag, and it's a silver paint with the copper finish. This can peg in right onto his back, and then let's see where the other one kind of goes. Ah, there it is. It's beyond the hair. So this spear can then plug in on that peg, and then you can have him kind of all armed up. Now the spear detailings are the same on the smaller one as it is on the extended one, which is to say, if we can get her to focus, we have gold paint, silver paint, gold paint in a beautiful sculpt, but it is very dainty at both ends. It is a bit of a softer plastic, so it does have some give, which is nice. The hand does hold it. It's not an easy thing to pull off. I would advise gripping it down in one of these sections and then sliding the hand up until you get the enough tension. But it is a beautiful accessory. It's just it's very scary to use in a way. And then we have a couple of gimmicks as well. So his forearm computer opens up, you know, so you can self-destruct or what have you. That's cool, all painted on the inside, and it's on a hinge, a pinned hinge. So that's not really, may not be, no, I don't think it is pinned. It would have been nice if it was. And then we have his over-the-shoulder gun, which is attached back here. It swivels where it is attached. It's on a hinge here, and another swivel at the top of the gun there, so you can get it around and get it over his shoulder with no problem, all in that silver finish and nice sculpt. So that's cool. And then of course we've already talked about the blades on this hand. Right, so let's talk about the figure. The head is, let's just take this off, is on a double ball peg. So it connects there. We have nice shading from the skin tone from that darker brown into the lighter brown. We have that throughout the figure. The mandibles do come off. They peg in fairly well, but as you're manipulating the figure like I am, and for the sense of showing you how it works, it does come off. This is just a kind of typical sort of toy necklace piece. It has this skin tone paint on it, and then looks like a wash and a dry brush added to it, and then some copper paint and brown paint added. This collar is another softer piece that just goes over top of the neck to cover down on the joint system, so that's nice. The neck to the chest has a double ball peg, so that's nice. And the collar piece just has that kind of gunmetal silver paint added to it. The face has tons of like paint detailings. We'll try to cover as much of that as we can. So we have the base color with a wash over top that fades into this darker color, and then we have some like greenish tints added to this section. The darker color is around the base of the eyes. The eyeballs are painted, both the iris and pupil, and then it has all of these like kind of skin marks added throughout, and it all looks good, and it's all on this lightest shade plastic. And then we have the pink mouth painted, and then a wash added to that, and then the teeth are all painted as well. All of these are individual, well, they're individual pieces that are connected to rings. So there's rings going down the figure, and then they're all added to these rings. It looks like 3 layers of rings. And then the gold paint is added. So all that stuff looks great. Articulation wise, let's see if we can, there. Let's see, we can get down to there. A good bit up, but not the best, and then the swivel. So it works really, really quite well, as we should expect from this company. They tend to know what they're doing. That's not to say it's perfect. It's got some issues. We'll get to it. Double ball peg for the chest to the abdomen, and a single from the abdomen to the pelvis. So articulation is no issue whatsoever in that regard. We have this softer piece of plastic that comes around for his like holsters and such, and it's just a brown piece of plastic. A lot of sculpted detail though. All right, detailings wise, we have brown paint for the straps that are added to his chest. Let's back out just a taste. We have this silver paint here that has a black wash on it for the armor. That's just pegged in, so you can swivel that a bit for articulation, kind of get it out of your way a taste. The skin detailings are done the same way, except we have a heavier brown wash added to some places, and all of the like kind of fishnet suit that he wears is all sculpted and painted fairly well. Every now and then you'll catch a piece that's not as clean, but for the most part it looks really good. And then the same detailings from the light brown to the darker brown, brownish green with the skin birthmarks and such added as well. So shoulders are on with feels, I can't even see that there's no visible joint there, so that's nice, but it feels like a disc hinge going to a ball peg into the chest, but I can't really tell for sure. It might just be a disc hinge. Either way, you get up to 90 degrees. You get the swivel all the way around. The skin detailings are the same, but we have some more kind of vascular nature added, like sculpt wise, with these veins going down the bicep and such. That looks good. Bicep swivel, that's there. Double jointed elbow, that's beautifully sculpted and hides inside of the forearm and bicep, so no issues there. And painted and detailed the same way. Let's hide this bit of business there. And then we have this forearm bit here with the gunmetal, and then the brighter silver, and then the hands are all done the same way as the skin with the lighter to darker tone, and then the birthmarks and the painted fingernails. The wrists themselves, let's take a look. So they have an extra cover down on the joint, and it's a single ball peg, which is a little strange. It feels like they should have done a double ball peg there, just because they have the stem, so you might as well connect it that way. Either way, you still get a good bit using just the single back and forth and up and down and the swivel. Detailings wise, we have a little bit different stuff going on over here with another band sculpted and painted, and the fishnet sculpted and painted, and this shoulder piece that once again acts like all the, oh no, it's not. The shoulder piece is actually connected to another piece that covers down on the joint, so that swivels around all the way on the figure, and that's on a ball peg as well, as you can see. So that's pretty cool. I might have just jammed it up. There we go. All right, articulation wise, it works the same, and then we have some dry brushing of the silver on this end, so that looks cool. We have this soft floating piece of plastic here. Underneath, it's still sculpted and painted, so that's nice. The floating piece has like a fade from a darker brown to a lighter brown, and then these silver accents added. And then we get to the hips, which is my numero uno issue. If you look inside close enough, you can see the stem going to the single ball peg from the pelvis to the abdomen, so that's cool. At least that I got it right without really knowing how it worked. It felt like it to me. So these are drop down T-jointed ball pegs, which are typical, but this one is not toleranced extremely well. This one works quite nicely. You can get all the way down to there, and then using the ball peg, you can get the leg out 90 degrees and out to the side. I mean, not 90, but pretty good. But the legs themselves are heavy, and this joint won't stay up. So I've actually had a hard time balancing him and standing him. That's part of the problem. We'll talk about the other part of the problem here in a second. But let's continue. So for the legs themselves, we have the same sort of skin tone done, the light to the dark. This is the greenish brown, and then the birthmarks added along the kind of ridge line, for lack of a better term. And then we have the brown straps sculpted and painted, and then these bits are all just plug-in pieces, so you can swivel them if it helps. They're painted silver and then washed with black, so that's cool. Double jointed knee gets you a little bit past 90 degrees. We have this armor here that's done the same way, painted silver, dry washed black. The joint consistency with these straps and stuff in the back gets, it gets all wonky as you manipulate the legs. But I mean, they can't change physics. You know what I mean? Like they're a good company and they do well with toys, but they can't change time and space. You got to do a couple things. Let's see here. For the skin on the back, it's all done the same way, except this has a heavier shade. Actually, the back in general has a heavier shade. So that's actually nice, because it gives it a little bit of depth, so that's cool. And it's on the back of the figure, which most people are like, oh, who cares? Once again, the paint, the consistency of color in the knee joints might bother some. Doesn't bother me, but it's worth pointing out. This silver is just the gunmetal silver. I'm not sure why they didn't wash that with the black, or maybe they did. They just used a darker silver. I can't really tell. So the feet are do have an ankle tilt up and a slight ankle tilt down, and they do have a bit of a rocker. However, due to the sculpt of the armor on the legs, I have had issues getting much use out of the rocker, which is a bummer. And between the rocker and the hips, it's kind of, and of course, the hips could be an individual result to a vary thing. The rockers down here, probably not so much. The armor's done the same way though, painted silver, washed black, and then there's heavier shading down here for the feet, and then the tusks on the feet are all painted and washed. So that looks cool, and then the bottom of the sandals. We also have an additional toe hinge here. It's very slight. I'm not even sure why they did it, honestly, but it is there. And that's this guy in a classic nutshell. Size comparison wise, I'm not exactly sure what you would want to see, but there he is next to a Marvel Legend. SH Figuarts have a tendency to be a little smaller than Legends. As you can see, this guy's a little bit bigger, so it is a nice size figure even for the kind of American 1/12 scale. Final thoughts wise, there's a lot of good going for this guy, but unfortunately those feet and those hips, at least on the one that I'm looking at, do kind of make it a pain. You know, like this guy should have no problem pulling off a super dynamic pose, but just getting him to balance right with all this stuff, it was, you know, it's a little challenging. It's really, you know, the tolerance, like, you know, that just came off. Like, it's the tolerance of these hips and the feet, you know, it's just difficult to kind of get to work. And it shouldn't be, you know, it really shouldn't be. Not only because of the price, you know, but because of the reputation of the figure. I guess we could put this down here. Maybe it fell off and he's trying to keep a foot on it so it doesn't get away. How about that? You know, and that's a bummer because that's really the only complaint I have is that some of the stuff has a tendency to pop out. I mean, he carries a ton of accessories, so, I mean, I get it. But it's really this one loose hip joint and the kind of way the feet work that kind of prevent this figure from really giving you what you want to get out of it, at least on the one that I'm looking on. You know, there could be very good chances that out there somewhere somebody has one that's fine and has none of those issues. It's totally feasible. I would find it a little bit harder to believe with the feet than I would with the hip, but I still get it in the sense that I understand how it's possible. But sculpt-wise, paint-wise, accessory-wise, it's amazing. And articulation-wise, engineering is there. It's just, you know, how it kind of translated, at least on the copy that I'm looking at. I just find it, I keep saying that because I just find it strange that all of them would be this bad in those hips. The feet, something else, but I you know, every now and then everybody gets a bad one, you know, and myself included, so I don't know. Plus, you know, I guess I relate to the Predator, I guess.
No wonder you wear the mask. You're one ugly mother...
There's a thing called feelings. But yeah, the paint, the sculpt, the accessories, they're all on the level, if not surpassing the level that you're used to with SH Figuarts, specifically the paint and accessories. I mean, they really took it to the nines. And the materials are good and such, so it's a recommend from me, but you might want to look at a few more reviews out there and see, you know, kind of what their experience have been with that right hip and the feet articulation, because it does prevent you from really getting a real dynamic pose out of this guy. However, a stoic pose shouldn't be much of an issue either way. Thanks for listening, thanks for watching, till next time, take care.